lost all control. Her gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and you have now entered the Night Terrors. Terrors. The echo for effect. How did that work? Was that cool? Did I set the scene? Did I convey value with that extra effect? That's about all I can afford, but I hope it worked for you. Thank you guys, all of you, for joining us here on the us, as in me and my other personalities, on the Paranormal Portal. It's always a pleasure to be here, and I hope you guys are doing great out there in the madness that is our modern world. In all the current circumstances, it's pretty bizarre, but I don't know. I think it's getting better. I think people are starting to find their feet again, and hopefully everything goes swimmingly. But I, of course, am right here to keep you company for these evening hours, and thank you so much for sharing your evenings with me here on the Paranormal Portal. So far, 7 days a week, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thanks, Brandon. There's a portal happening right here live on YouTube. So I hope you guys continue to join me. If you're not already subscribed, please like and subscribe to streams. Please leave comments on the streams that you do watch. Of course, those of you who are chatting are always leaving comments, but I mean after the video is over. If you happen to want to rewatch it, or if you happen to watch other videos, leave me comments, because it's just important to keep jacking up the amount of interaction we have as much as possible. So oftentimes I'll get messages from people like, hey, that was a great show, that was a great show, that was a great show. And it's wonderful, and I love those. But if you do me a huge favor and leave them on the video itself, it'll do a lot more good for the whole show on YouTube, because that feeds the algorithm and helps to make sure that other people get introduced to the portal as well, which is always fantastic. We're always happy to meet new listeners, and it's always fun to see new people coming in. So great to see you guys throughout the course of our journey. The phone lines will be open, so if you want to call in and be a part of tonight's show, you've got a paranormal something you want to share, I'd love to hear from you. The number is 720-923-0500. So 720-923-0500 is the number for fun here on the Paranormal Portal, or just look up here in the corner and you'll see it later if something occurs to you and you go, oh, what was that number again? There it is. Right there. That's my Vanna White. So, I don't know. I just sit here when I'm not doing shows, and I just sit here. No, I'm just kidding. I don't do that at all. But anyway, thanks for being here. I think that's all I got on the front. Oh, the first podcast of season 2 was released yesterday. It's doing fantastically, and thank you to all of you who are checking those out. If you haven't checked out the Paranormal Portal podcast, find your favorite podcast application, whether it's Google Play, iHeart Radio, if it's iTunes, Pandora, Spotify, and should be about tomorrow or thereabouts. We'll be going live on Stitcher finally, and I thought it was going to be live today, but it's not yet. There's a bit of a procedure to start a podcast on a new platform, and previously we weren't on Stitcher, but we will be now. So that should be going live very soon. But if you're a Stitcher user, keep watching, keep searching. It'll be popping up one of these days, in the very next few days. Hopefully by tomorrow, but if not, it'll be coming soon. So, but that should be wonderful because I know Stitcher is a huge podcasting application as well. Kind of what iTunes is for the iPhone. That's what Stitcher is to the Android, and such. So we're really excited about that expansion, and hope it helps us reach a whole bunch of other people. If you got a story of your own that you'd like to share and you don't want to call in and maybe you want to be a guest on the podcast to discuss your experiences, please feel free to reach out to me via email. And you can do that at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. I'm checking those all the time. So if you email, that's fantastic. Turn the moon on. Now I got to save the moon, Aussie. The moon's for the 2-hour shows. And the reason why is because that thing eats batteries like you would not believe. So it's not plugged into anything. It's just a battery application. And that thing just devours batteries. So I save it for the long shows. But just in your mind's eye, give it a color, whatever color you choose. I'm good with it. All right, so let's get going here. I guess that's all I got for you on the front end. I hope you're ready because it's time for bed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're underway here on the Paranormal Portal Night Terrors, and I hope you're ready because I'm thoroughly going to try to entertain you as best I can. I just dug up an article that I'm going to read on Wednesday's show. It's going to be fun. I thought it was pretty funny and pretty timely as well, so I can't let it out of the bag completely, but I heard about it on another show, and on a news show, actually, believe it or not, and they mentioned it. I was like, oh, God, I got to find that because that'll be fun. So on Wednesday, I already got an article ready for you. Pretty humorous, I think. I haven't read the article itself, but the concept is humorous. So anyway, let's get going here. I got some stories pulled up for you, as always, and we're going to get into those now. Again, the phone lines are open. If you want to call in, feel free. But the first story tonight is coming out of Wisconsin, land of cheese, the Packers, and the beast of Bray Road. So that's where Linda Godfrey lives, is Wisconsin. That's where she's done all her work. And I think she's probably traveled on a bit too, but I got to get a hold of her. I really got to get in touch with her again. I love having Linda on the show because she's such a fantastic person, such a kind, nice person as well. She's a joy to interview because she's she's just so darn nice and full of great information. So Wisconsin, and this one has to do with miscellaneous kind of stuff. It says, this is my first story, so just bear with me. My story starts around the time that I was about 8 years old. I was outside in my lawn, and to be specific, it was my backyard. And it's huge, big enough for an older kid to play baseball on. And I was out near one of the sheds when I looked over and saw a man, skinny and muscular, and really quite tall. And when I looked over, he quickly disappeared in an upward direction. Here's where it gets weird. About 3 weeks ago, I just woke up for school and looked over at my TV stand, and in front of it was a female. She had dark skin, and I don't know if she was African American or Indian. All I saw was wings and legs. My dad didn't see her. He has to wake me up because I don't wake really very easily. And everything else in my day was normal. Same friends, same enemies, same everyone. But a 1/16 of the grade hates me. Oh man, that's tough. It's tough being kids. Oh my God, especially nowadays. I know it was tough when I was a kid, but it seems like kids now are even crueler than ever before. I don't know if that's true or not, or if we just have thinner skin now, whatever the case is. But man, kids go through hell. So here's another twist. Just after the entity showed up, I've heard knocks in the house. I saw shadows out of the corner of my eye, along with my sister actually seeing them, and that creepy feeling like you're being watched, which I don't usually have. Along with that entity, I've had experiences with a different entity in my home. Sometimes, not often, me and my sister will hear a muffled demonic laugh. Also, sometimes in the middle of the night, I'll wake up and do various things or remember getting back into my bed in my room. The first time this happened was around 5 years ago. I'd wake up and have no control over what I did. I'd do things like shower at 2 in the morning or walk around, and it's very creepy. And I don't like that I'm scared. I'll do something really bad. I'm scared that I'll do something really bad. Sorry, I broke that up, and it was one sentence. Thanks for reading. And do you think this is a guardian angel, a demon, or a confused entity? Feel free to put any opinion out there. I don't know. I don't know if it's any of them. You know, I don't know how you describe, or how do you know for sure it's demonic laughter? I mean, is demonic laughter, or is it, hey, I mean, what does demonic laughter mean? Is it, I don't know. And it would certainly, it doesn't, just because you hear something that sounds diabolical doesn't mean it's diabolical. I oftentimes think that spirits probably get plenty bored. I mean, they probably do. They probably get plenty bored if they happen to be stuck in a place. I think that there are spirits that can come and go as they will or do whatever the hell they want, but I think there's some spirits that are just kind of stuck, and they seem to be, for lack of a better word, anchored to a physical space. They may be anchored to a part of a home. They might be anchored to a freaking corner in the home or a basement or something. It's very strange, but oftentimes there's been researchers who will, have an area of about, 5 feet, 6 feet in diameter, but all kinds of crazy stuff happens in this 5 or 6 feet diameter area, but doesn't seem to extend beyond that. So is there an entity that is just trapped in that area? Is there some kind of purgatory that is induced for some entities? And I don't know. I'm just spitballing as I'm going here, but others seem to be able to come and go as they want. But my point is that I imagine if you're kind of stuck someplace and you're just seeing the mundane come and go all the time, probably one of the only sources of entertainment you have is the people that live there or happen to be there. And so I imagine, at some point you might start, tossing things at them just to see what they do, look at their expressions. I don't know. I mean, people do a lot of stupid things when they're extraordinarily bored. And I don't think that would change just because they're a spirit. I think people do stupid things when they need some kind of stimulus. So I don't know. Certainly it's always room for caution whenever strange things are going on, or you don't feel like you're in control of yourself, which is some of what this person related. And I think that's definitely a cautionary flag for being real careful about what the hell's going on. But I don't think anything this person said throughout the course of this small story would really be grounds for getting really scared or nervous or concerned. I mean, anytime you got a ghost around, I guess it's concerning because something is there that you can't see and you can't tell where it is, and it may start screwing with you, and that's always concerning, of course. But nothing seems really diabolical in that narrative, is what I'm saying, I guess. But who knows? I'm not there. I didn't experience any of it, so I can only go by what was put into their account. The next story is very short, and it actually comes from Idaho, which is my stomping grounds here, and it has to do with apparitions, voices, and touches. So it says, I was living on my own for the first time in the year of 2000, and I had a roommate, and we lived in a fairly new 2-bedroom, second-story apartment on Overland Road between Cole and Curtis in Boise. And we've been living there for about nearly 9 months without anything strange happening. One night, my roommate was staying over at her boyfriend's house, and I went to bed at around 10. I woke up a couple hours later to a cat walking on my back. I almost dozed back off, but then realized I don't have a cat. I didn't have a cat at the time, and I threw the covers off and darted for the light. Of course, nothing was there. So I'm crazy spooked, and this is the first ghost-like experience I've had in a number of years. Well, I go out into the living room thinking I'll just sleep out here tonight. Yeah, I get comfortable on the couch, and I start to doze. All of a sudden, I hear this huge crash. It sounded like all of the furniture on my balcony had been blown over. And in fact, that's exactly what I thought it was. I opened the blinds, but nothing looked out of sorts. So I went out on the balcony, and nothing had been moved in any way. I looked at the next door neighbor's balcony and my lower neighbor's as well, but nothing was amiss. As far as I could tell, I was the only one who heard anything. Now, that's weird. I don't know, again, was this a one-off event, or is this the beginning of a lot of other things? I don't know. Hard to say, but, I do think that sometimes, as I said before, spirits can come and go, and maybe they just stop in and raise some hell and then leave. I don't know. It's weird when those one-off ones happen, because it's like, why? What was the point? But then again, who knows? All right, next one is coming from California. And this has to do with apparitions, voices, and touches as well. A lot of short stories tonight, so far anyway. It says, when I was young, my parents owned a couple of Airstream trailers that were set up near the Sequoia National Forest. I don't know if the mountain community had a name. I never noticed. There were 4 or 5 blocks of houses, big rambling blocks up steep streets. On the edge of one of these blocks was a brand new cabin being built. It was owned by our neighbors in Valley Acres, where we lived at the time. My cousin Jill and I thought they might be home and would give us a tour, so we walked over there. The cabin was built on the edge of the side of the mountain so that the back of the house faced the road and the front overlooked the mountains. It was a big wraparound porch, and we walked to the front of the house and knocked. There was no answer. There was a truck in the driveway, so we knocked again. No answer. We walked to the driveway, and there was a big pile of gravel, so we sat down and started tossing bits of gravel at the for sale sign on the lot next door. Well, I don't know why we were sitting there, if we thought they would be home soon and wanted to wait, or if we had nothing better to do. We sat there a good 15 minutes, and all of a sudden, we heard the front door open and slam shut. Then we hear heavy boots clomping across the deck. So we think someone's been home and just didn't hear us knocking. We get up about the time of the clomping boots turn the corner, only there's nobody there. And that clomping is coming towards us. So we bolt. And I realize Jill is not next to me. And I turn, and she's running in place and screaming that it's got her. Well, I grabbed her arm and yanked, and whatever it was let go. And we ran home. We never went anywhere near that cabin again. It's like Scooby-Doo, where they're running, but they're not really going anywhere, but their legs are like wheels. Oh, that would be horrifying. That would be absolutely horrifying. That's some scary stuff right there, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so the next one is coming from Washington. I guess we're doing the West Coast today, which is fine, but this one has to do with apparitions, voices, and touches as well. And what's going on in Washington, you ask? Well, let me tell you. We'll get into that right now. It goes like this. I don't want to sound like a story, because everything I'm about to tell you is all true. I was having a great Thanksgiving about 2 years ago. And you know how turkey makes everybody sleepy. Well, anyways, mind you, I can't sleep well for about the past 4 years because of all the things that have happened to me. My house is a very old church from the 1800s that not even kids from the neighborhood will go to on Halloween. I was on my way back downstairs to go to the bathroom one more time before heading off to bed. And I'd walk through the hall door, and the entire living/dining room was dark except for the cast of light from the hall. I always look around on the floor because we have 4 dogs, so I don't want to step on them. I quick glanced to my right and saw a small figure of a girl standing underneath our dining room table. And she was no older than 3, in a very Victorian pink party dress. She was also holding a bear, and it turned out to be my nephew's bear named Rupert. And the girl walked to me and handed it to me and spoke the bear's name. I said thank you, and as I walked away from her staring eyes, I felt her leave as I came back out of the restroom. She was gone. I went back upstairs, bear in hand, and went to bed. I still to this day have no explanation for what happened, but I think that was the most pleasant ghost experience I've ever had. That is so bizarre. But I don't know, it's kind of a beautiful experience, really. I don't know, again, with the kid spirits thing, I don't know, but that's that's such a cute story. To have that kind of interaction, I think is just profound. Now, here's something that I think about, and I actually think about it quite a bit, and it is this. I wonder, and I know some people are just antisocial and just not really into engaging with other people, but wherever I go, I always like to say hello, and give people smiles. I think that kind of stuff is just important because, the world's dark and cold enough. If I can just, make it a little bit lighter just with a smile or a hello or just engaging somebody, I always take great value in that. And this story really makes me think of what I think about a lot because it has to do with a little girl ghost that interacted absolutely completely with this person. Like, was carrying a solid object and handed that object along with some dialogue exchanged, no matter how limited. Now, what occurs to me is that how many people have all of us walked by or met or seen in a crowd that maybe weren't there? I think about that all the time because I think that we all have the ability to see those things. And I think that they also have the ability to manifest that way if they choose. But, and the reason that I was talking about being nice and saying hello is that I I don't understand how somebody can say hello to you and you just kind of just ignore them, ignore the hell out of them, like they're not even there, and just walk by, just like on your way, in your business, and just shutting off everybody around you, and it just, the hellos are pretty obvious. It's not like I'm like, hi, I'm like, hey, how you doing, and just people will just boom. And I always think that's so awkward, but I'll always make a snide comment like, oh, I guess not, or something like that, because I want to acknowledge their bad behavior. But it occurs to me, what if some of those people aren't really there in the traditional sense? What if I could be observing from, not all of them, obviously, some people are just that way. They just don't engage with anybody. But what if some of them were just unable to, or, they were just manifest for those moments? I just don't know. I mean, are there that many poorly behaving people out there? Maybe. But what if some of them weren't really there at all? And that kind of cooks your bacon. But we cover stories so often of these manifestations that are so perfect. And people have touched, these ghost people and had them disappear right after, And so what if we do run into them from time to time, but they're so indistinguishable from the other people that there's no way to know? I don't know. It just comes to me sometimes, and I ponder stuff like that because I really believe that we are swimming in a world of spiritual presences on top of our own normal presences. And so what if sometimes they manifest and walk through crowds and, just are a part of the landscape, but we don't know which is which. How do you know which is body people and which is not body people? So I don't know. It's just something that I ponder, and I'm pretty confident that we all have probably either talked to a ghost without knowing it was a ghost, or we've all maybe sat in the same room as one without knowing it wasn't there really. And I think that that's kind of cool and exciting. Now this story is incredibly profound. It's a simple little story. Woke up to use the bathroom, and there's a little girl ghost under the table holding Rupert, brings it over to the person and says, Rupert, hands it to the guy. He says, thank you. I don't know. A guy or woman. I don't know if it's a guy or woman that wrote this story, but the point is that it was such a perfect and complete interaction that it was indistinguishable from if a little girl was really giving you a teddy bear. So I don't know. I think those are very, very powerful. Now, I often think also, as I've shared many times about children's spirits, and are we sure they're really children? But that's a whole nother, whole nother thread to all that. But I just find that an incredibly interesting story. I don't know. You guys will have to let me know in the comments what you think about that kind of thing. Could we be interacting with spirits from time to time and not know it? And do any of you out there think you have? And do you have a story that matches that? I'd love to hear it. Please let me know. Those kind of things I find absolutely fascinating. I know you can't run through life with an EMF detector, sweeping like Ghostbusters in the the first Ghostbusters movie in the library. But I think it's probably true. I think we all probably have had confrontations with people that weren't really there. And maybe it is all the people that ignore me. Maybe. All right, let's continue on. All right, let's see what this is. This has come from Michigan, and it's Apparition Voices and Touches, but at least we're going to the heartland now. I guess we were in Wisconsin earlier, won't we? Weren't we? All the incidents since my last story have just been getting stranger and creepier every time. The first event I remember started with me sitting in my hotel room reading, and I heard a small bumping noise directly to my left. I turned slowly and saw a distinctly human-shaped shadow about 3.5 feet tall, detailed down to the forehead ridge. The second I looked at it, immediately strode into the wall. I've also been seeing the usual groups of formless people, or formless disappearing shadows, rather. The clearly formed one stated above was not normal. And images that change at the second glance. My final major experience was while I was at a friend's house, and everyone else was asleep, and I was watching a movie, and suddenly I felt something brush up against me. I started to get goosebumps on the same side of my body and felt stabs of cold going through my body as if buckets of ice water were being thrown through my soul. All of a sudden, his computer speakers started making a loud buzzing sound. A few lights flashed, and all of his electronic equipment went wild. This lasted a few frightening seconds and then slowly receded in intensity. Not much has happened since that event, but I'll keep updates coming when I can. I think that, if ghosts are really these energy fields, and I think they are. I think we are, in our essence, energy, obviously. Even our physical body is energy on the most fundamental level, but you know what I mean? That our consciousness is energy. It's an intelligent energy, and we are our consciousness. But I think that, as they move around, people obviously feel the cold spots. They get the goosebumps, those little prickles of, it looks like the reason they call them goosebumps, or I think I've heard them called chicken skin too, or something like that. But is somehow that their electrical field is interacting with ours, and that's why we get those sensations and the hair standing up on end and such. But as such, if they are this unique energy patterns, when they interact with electronics, they They do seem to have a very real presence in that way and do interfere with them. And again, electronics being messed with are, bread and butter to the ghost stories. I mean, that's just like Ghost 101. That they don't seem to have any trouble screwing with electronics at all. Not even at all. But I don't know that every time if you get a weird static, like we get that a lot here on the show, like there'll be just that. It hasn't happened for a while now, but there'll be just this static that comes and goes. And could that be something spiritual walking through this area, interfering with the equipment? Well, sure, I guess it could. It's never enough in and of itself to be, well, that's obviously a ghost, but it's certainly enough to make you question, well, could that be a ghost? And I think it could be. But I think you need, anybody before they jump to conclusions needs more than just that. But they do interact with electronics sometimes very willfully, and other times I think just by being near, those kind of things could happen that were just outlined in that last story. And I guess it must be that for whatever reason, as they are an electronic field or electric field or electromagnetic or whatever it actually is, that energy that we don't seem to be able to tell what it is, except that EMF fields get kind of weird around them. But whatever that does must affect the normal electron flow in electronics. It must screw with it. And maybe it can be directed with their, intelligence. I don't know. Again, just throwing ideas out there as they come to me, because that's what I do. That's what I do on the portal. I just think of things and I fill the mic with them. And, I just love the thoughts. I love trying to just piece by piece try to understand the dynamics of these phenomena, because they're so profound. And I think if we ever could understand them, we would know so much more about the nature of our reality. I really think so. All right, so the next one is a little bit longer, and this is coming from Massachusetts, and it has to do with haunted places. It says, when I was 8 years old, it seems to be a popular age tonight. When I was 8 years old, I was sleeping at my grandparents' house. Well, they woke up really early, so I wanted to get up with them. Well, I woke up and it was still really early. In fact, it was still dark. I got out of bed and started going down the stairs. I was going slow because I was listening to see if anyone else was up. In the middle of the stairway, I heard a girl whisper something in my right ear. It scared me, so I just ran up the stairs and hid under the covers. Well, I soon fell back asleep, and in my sleep I had a dream that I was being pulled underwater. Must have been really holding my breath because I woke up coughing and choking. I got out of bed and looked out the window, and it was nice and sunny out. I then realized that I was standing in puddles of water. I was all wet. My hair was dripping. I looked at the bed, and the bed was sopping wet. There was water going down the walls all around my bed. I ran downstairs and ran into my cousin who was going up. I bumped into him crying and screaming, and he looked at me and asked, "What happened?" I grabbed his hand and took him up the stairs, and it was only like 2 minutes later, and then we went into the room. Everything was dry. The bed was dry. The floor was dry. I was still wet. I went back downstairs and took a shower. And that was the first thing paranormal that has ever happened to me. My cousin never slept there again, and neither did I. I now co-own the house, and I'm looking into the history of it. Apparently, there used to be a church and cemetery there. The church closed because of a flood. I don't know about the cemetery. I'm guessing someone must have died in the flood, but I have yet to go back. Now, the scary part of that is that, I know it's the premise of the movie Poltergeist, but I do think that was a common practice. I think that, they probably didn't dig up whole cemeteries just because that land was going to be developed. They probably didn't. They probably just moved headstones. You're dealing with people that are on a schedule, and I imagine exhuming graves and putting those graves, organizing them and putting them back into the earth somewhere else is a huge task and a huge expense. So I think historically, many times, simply headstones were moved. And houses were just built on top of the graves that were still there. Sure, the headstones were relocated somewhere else, but I think the graves are still exactly where they were. But now they have no markings. And I don't know if that's, there's some people believe that that's a real insult to the dead, and maybe it is. I don't know. I don't think I'll personally care too much what the situation is with that, but maybe other people do. Maybe they did. Maybe it's cultural. Maybe it's any number of things. I don't know, but I think that was a real common practice, because it's a lot cheaper to just move the headstones than it is to dig 6 feet down for hundreds of graves and redig them down 6 feet in new locations. I just don't think that many people bothered with the expense of those. I think they probably moved a few just because they wanted people to see graves moving. But I think in many cases, wherever the house wasn't going to be, they just left the other graves right there. They probably just cleared out bodies wherever foundations were going to go in, or wells or something like that. But and it's disgusting. It's truly disgusting to think of, and I think it's an insult, I suppose. But I think it's more an insult to the living than to the dead. But I might be wrong. But what a horrible, horrible thing. So I wouldn't be surprised in that case if those graves were still right where they were left. Just the headstones were moved. All right, the next one is coming from Kentucky, the home of great chicken. And a derby. There's the Kentucky Derby as well. No, I'm sure Kentucky's wonderful for a lot of reasons, but everybody knows KFC, the Colonel and all. I love the Colonel. Colonel's been good to me. I'm just kidding. All right. Let's see what's going on in Kentucky. This one's quite a bit longer. Oh, this one's a dark one, ladies and gentlemen. This one's about demons, possessions, and exorcisms. It's kind of a longer story, so buckle up. This one might get a little hairy. Excuse me. My name's Brandon. I'm a resident of Georgetown, Kentucky. I'm 20 years old and have been dating my girlfriend Monica for 3 years now. About a year ago, I woke up in my room to her hitting me. I said, "What the hell is your problem?" And when I turned to her, she was crying her eyes out. I knew something was wrong, and I asked her, "What happened? What's wrong with you?" And she replied, after catching her breath, something woke her up by pressing on her chest. She tried to say my name, but she couldn't say or move or anything. Finally, she came to her senses, and that's when she hit me. So I comforted her and held her back to sleep, not thinking much of it. I thought it was maybe just a bad dream. Then a month later, the exact same thing happened to me. Same symptoms and everything. And all this is before I accepted Jesus into my life. Then a year went by. I accepted Jesus into my life and have been studying the Bible hardcore and absolutely loving it. And everything was good until now. I was staying over at her house, and it was only about 6 p.m., and I got a call from my mom telling me that my long-awaited keyboard had arrived via UPS. I told Monica that I'm going to go get my keyboard and make sure that it works. And she said she's going to take a nap while I'm gone. Well, I got all my things and was heading off out of her room when I got this overwhelming feeling of discomfort. Something was telling me not to leave. I cannot begin to explain this to you. Being me, I just pushed it to the side because I did not recognize the fact that there's something else out there. But the whole time on my way home, I still had that feeling. So I get to the house and grab my package with the keyboard in it. And all those feelings were gone by this time. My mind was on the keyboard. It wasn't 20 minutes and I got a phone call. It was Monica. She was crying about the only thing she said. It happened again, but more inferior. Right then, I knew exactly what she was talking about. Damn, why did I leave her? Well, I rushed to her house and found her frightened to death. She couldn't even talk. She was in utter shock. So I grabbed my Bible and came into the house. I calmed her down just enough to get the story out of her. She said that she woke up to someone or something sitting on her bed. The first person that came to her mind was me, so she says my name, Brandon. No answer, and then she says, God. But before she could finish saying God all the way, it stopped her. Threw her arms back in the bed, turned her head to the side, her eyes facing the wall. It projected a picture of Jesus on the cross with blood dripping down from his head. And she tried to stop this by saying, come out of me in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And once again, she said that in her head. It stopped her at spirit. It grabbed her by her hair and took her close to her closet door. And she tried to say, in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But again, it stopped her. And this time it grabbed her jaw and forced it downward. She did not give up. She tries to say it again, and it puts an extreme pain in her back. Still strong, she says it once again, and it left her. She told me that it did not leave me instantly. It crept out of my body. I could not believe this story I was hearing. This is something you see on TV, I said in my mind. And I try and stay strong for her, and I take her hand and lead her to her room when I get this sudden cold chill all through my body. I look at her bed where this took place. There I see a white handprint with long fingernails. The weirdest thing is that we both have no fingernails. She also had taken her sheets to my house to wash them the day before, and I freak out. And I said, we got to leave right now. We ran out of the house. She called her parents. I called mine, and she called her grandfather, who was a preacher. We still experienced things for about a month, and then finally, it suddenly stopped. Maybe all the prayers and me reading Bible scriptures every day got to it. I could keep writing for days, but I'll save some of the other stories for another time. Please, if you have any idea of what it might have been, please reply. Thank you all so much, and God bless. Yeah, I don't know. That's ugly. That's so ugly. But it's a beautiful thing that faith can be so powerful, even in the face of something so dark and horrible, that if you can invoke your faith, whatever that is, it can save you. It can save you. You can call things to aid you. You can, have protections. And faith is a huge protection. And this isn't, it isn't really, to me, it isn't about Christianity versus other religions. It's just about faith. Believing completely in what your faith is, and knowing that it's a shield against darkness is incredibly powerful and empowering. And I think it's wonderful. I think it's absolutely wonderful. I don't know why those things are around. I don't know, what is the reason. I mean, we all have our ideas. Whether they're from our faith or from other places, we all have ideas about what these things are and what they may want. But at least we can save ourselves. And, I think that it didn't say, they said that it had to do with exorcisms, but I don't know. I hope they did an exorcism on the house, on both of them. Not that I think that either of them were possessed, but it does sound like an oppression of sorts. A really forward one, though. I mean, that's, again, I think truly demonic things, I'm talking about the real deal, not just dark beings. But I think that they are incredibly subtle, and they don't reveal their hand until it's way late in the game. This story was, I mean, it was dark. It's horrible, but I don't think it had completely, I don't think it had taken over either of them by any measure, other than it had managed to be inside of this woman in some manner. And I don't know if that's just an attachment or if it's a true pseudo possession, or if it's just a walk-in. There's a thing called walk-ins, and other people may have other names for them. And basically, it's dark spirits or formerly human spirits who want to live again. They may try to walk into the living and take over. They sometimes, because they feel they were cheated out of their lives, because they're afraid of their death and facing a judgment or whatever, so they want to take over other people's bodies, and they will try to do that in succession, and basically the idea is to perpetually be alive. I think I've not known anybody personally that had walk-ins, but I've talked to people who've told me weird things that they've experienced, and it seems to me that a walk-in is probably pretty possible as the explanation. People that have just changed completely, become another person, not evil. They just become another person. They don't become dark or twisted or, evil, trying to hurt other people. Everything about them just changes in a heartbeat. And that to me seems, other than mental illness, of course, that could certainly play a part. And some people do deal with those kind of things. But if it is spiritual, it could be a walk-in. It could be someone took over. So I've shared a story on the show before of my cousin who was visiting. I've got a call. Hold on, caller. I'm just going to go through the story quick. But the cousin who was visiting, and she told me a story of a friend of hers that was in a car accident. And he was in the hospital for a while. And after he got out of the hospital, he started coming to her in her dreams, saying he was sorry and, he had to go. And it was, his time and, that kind of thing. And she's like, it didn't make any sense because he came out of the hospital. He's fine. And it occurred to me, it's like, are you sure he came out of the hospital? And her eyes got big like saucers. And she said, that's funny because he changed. Everything about him changed. He wouldn't talk to his friends anymore. And he moved away and dropped all of his contacts. Apparently his family as well, just dropped off the face of the earth. He's still out there, but he changed. And so I think somebody walked in on that guy. I don't know, just a thought. But let's get to this call and see what's going on. This is area code 256. You're on the air.
How you doing, Brent?
I'm doing good. How are you? Who am I talking to?
Hi, this is Crow Creek.
Hey, Crow Creek. Good to hear you, brother. How's everything?
Oh, making it, man, making it.
Oh.
Getting ready for an old birthday tomorrow.
Oh, your birthday?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, happy birthday. That's wonderful.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Glad to see another one. You were talking earlier about the way electronics will do when certain things are around.
Mm-hmm.
When the big guys come around, I've noticed electronics will go a little haywire.
Yes, that's true.
I tried to snap a photo of something one day last year.
Uh-huh.
And 5 times in a row, the phone completely shut off.
Oh, my God.
I would restart it. I knew it was there. And as it came on just long enough for me to snap a picture of something. Now, one of the big guys was back behind it, but this thing was in front of it. And that phone, as soon as I saved it to the SD card, that phone died and never came on again. Never would work again.
Oh, my God.
So I wound up getting a new phone, and I pulled that SD card out of the old one and put in it. And what I caught was a full-body apparition of a man over to the side of these two things with a handlebar mustache.
Oh, my God.
So, that was the first time I had something like that happen.
Uh-huh.
And the little dog, I said that, she kept smelling in that area where I snapped that photo.
Oh.
And I said, what are you smelling, girl? Well, on the video, I got a voice back through the phone that said, ask me that again.
Ooh. Wow.
So, that was something. I have had several experiences like that through my lifetime, seeing things, ghostly apparitions, but I never put much thought into it,
Sure.
and absolutely never put much thought into the other things I've seen until, years ago, until I turned around and there's one 20 feet behind me.
Oh, man.
So, as for me, I was always a skeptic all the way around.
Sure.
Except for maybe the apparitions I've seen, which, in the South, you're taught not to talk about things like that. So I never spoke of stuff like that. I had seen, but as far as the big guys, no, I never believed until I had no other choice.
Right. Yeah, it was there.
And just to let some folks know, there's things out there, and not all of them you can see.
Right.
But I definitely do believe they can see us.
Yes, I think you're absolutely
all
right.
the time.
Yep. I think that they don't have any trouble perceiving us. We just have trouble perceiving them. I would agree.
Exactly.
Wow. So do you still go back to that area?
That was just one instance.
Right.
It's at my home, so I don't have much choice. It's back in my pasture in my woods. And that's where I've caught the big guy. I think I sent you and Don a photo of old pointy ears.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure if that's a DM or a hybrid
right.
Squatch. I'm not sure which one he is, but I knew when he came around, I never really have a big problem out of the Squatch.
Mm-hmm.
But when this guy came around, things changed, and it went from okay to getting dogs taken, and never seeing them again.
Oh, no.
Things like that. The Squatch would sometimes, bang on the house, take stuff off my deck, and leave it over here in a tree somewhere, or, nothing really too bad.
Right. Right.
When this thing came around, it's like their attitude changed too.
Oh. Okay.
I don't know if it was an influence, or if they had to act out a little more to try to show this thing who's boss. I'm not sure.
Right. Right.
But I do believe, the dogs have been here 5 years. The Squatch never bothered them. They might pick them up and run them down a creek a mile or two within 7 minutes. And I would have to drive down the road and go down, and there's no way they were small dogs. There's no way they could go that far in 7 minutes.
Right. Wow.
And they would take them down to this bridge down there and set them down. And it was just like a game, And I would go down there and have be my dog sitting right there at the bridge, but through the woods down the creek, they could get there a lot faster than I can drive there.
Wow.
So, it wasn't, I knew they wouldn't harm the dogs.
Sure.
They would mess with me, use them to mess with me.
Sure.
But when this other thing came around, that's when the dogs would get snatched. I watched one of them one night at around 11:30. They chased this black thing across the pasture, and when it went into the deep bushes, about 5 feet high, they stopped. When I hit them with the spotlight, they turned and looked at me, and when they did, an arm came out and snatched one of them and never was seen again.
Oh, my God. Wow. Ugh. I'm sorry, man. That's terrible.
Yeah. But as far as the apparitions, there's a place here not very far from me. You can look it up. It's called Henry Hill in Mount Hope, Alabama.
Okay.
I've been there several times back when I was just younger, and experienced some stuff there that, at the time when you're young, you don't really understand a lot of that stuff.
Right.
But, yeah, I've seen a man on the side of the road. Of course, it's dark. You go there and it's an optical illusion. Your car will roll uphill.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And the old thing was that old man Henry Hill would push you up the hill because he was hit by a wagon there one time and killed him.
Oh.
And of course, we would go there and mess around. And but when I seen an old man walking down the side of the road, and as our vehicle was being pushed uphill, I said, "Are you okay?" And when he turned and looked at me, he disappeared.
Oh,
and you heard a shriek come through the vehicle, like from the inside of the vehicle, like a loud shriek, scream. And, I just looked at my buddy, and he looked at me, and I was like, man, what was that? Because the vehicle's not running. We're in neutral. And he said, I don't know. But then you felt a jolt hit the car, like somebody pushed the car.
Right.
And, we got out of there and went back a few times, and it was always something strange would happen in that area.
Sure. So the incline is a optical illusion, but there's still plenty of weird there.
Right. Yeah, we knew it was an optical illusion, but
sure,
it was fun just to go check it out, and until I had that happen, there was no way an audible scream can come through the inside of the vehicle and it not be one of us,
Right. Yeah.
And it didn't sound right, it sounded, it was like it was just like a sonic sound to it, and then it faded, like just faded to nothing.
Oh, man.
And that's when we felt the push on the vehicle, like to the side, just like somebody walked up and hit it with their hands. And
wow.
That was a weird place.
It sounds like it. Man, that's intense.
Thinking, I live at a weird place.
Well, it's places like that though that I don't know. I like that there's so many layers to it, even though it might be kind of scary and creepy. I mean, I don't know. It still probably beats the hell out of living in a city,
Oh yeah. There's no way I could do that. I'm not that way. I just couldn't do it. I know a lot of people love it, but it's just not for me.
Yeah, I hear you. I've done both.
Another old place here up in Bankhead National Forest is called Pine Torch. It's an old church, very, very old. And I had been there one night, and me and a buddy of mine, and we went up. It was this old building is just planks, and we walked up and opened the door, and there were still pews inside, but just dilapidated somewhat.
Sure.
And I heard a Native American speaking in this church.
Oh.
This was probably midnight. Nobody there, of course. It's out in the middle of nowhere. And it was distinct Native American speech.
Wow.
And as I turned to walk out, I didn't say anything to my buddy. I didn't say, hey, did you hear that? Whatever. I turned to walk out, and he walked out, and he's closing the door. And when he reached back to grab the door, he's looking in, and he said, did you see that? And I said, no, what did you see? And he said, there's a man walked by up there. And I said, where? And he said, up at the podium. And I said, no, I didn't see that, man, and I really didn't because I wasn't looking.
Sure.
And all the way home, he was just freaked out. He said, there was a man that walked by up there, but I never told him that I heard a Native American speaking.
Wow.
So Yeah, that's another very old historic place.
Okay.
A lot of stories come out from around that area.
And it's just open that you can go into it? This old building?
It was back then.
Oh.
Now I'm not sure. It's been probably 20 years since I've been there.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Wow. I love old churches. I find them just fascinating. I can't say I've been through a bunch of them, but I think it's kind of neat to go to a place like them where so much history has happened, so much, of course, so much good things and bad things, and people finding their faith and maybe even losing their faith. I just find them very interesting places, very energetically interesting, I guess.
Right.
But they are mystical buildings. They really are. There's a lot of energy to those places, and I don't know. I think hauntings and churches kind of go hand in hand.
I think you're right there. I really do.
Yeah.
Some people don't think that's possible, but
Yeah.
If something's trying to attack you and it has no regard for the goodness,
Right. Yes. Yeah.
why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it be there?
Sure. Yep.
That's where a lot of most vulnerable people go.
Yes. Exactly. People that are on their last string. Yep.
For their spirit.
Yep.
So, that place has a feeling to it, definitely, when you come up to it.
Yeah.
And I knew that back, as a young man.
Wow.
But that was one of the last times I really ever went there.
Well, I don't blame you. That's a pretty good way to end it.
And that was because of that reason.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. It's like, well, at least you went out with a bang. You had an amazing experience, and that's a good place to call it quits. But it's great.
Yeah.
It's great to hear from you, brother.
And never in a million years would I have thought I'd seen something like that, on my land. And, caught voices and a full-body picture, and
yeah,
it's just weird.
It is. There's no shortage of that, though. I think that maybe there's ley lines or something going on near you or something like that too, because it sounds like you're in a pretty supercharged area, is what it sounds like.
I've looked at the ley lines. I don't have any right close to me.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what it is about the area here in the last few years, or if I'm sure the squats have been here for many years, because it made so much sense after I figured out what it was, things that had happened so many times. I've had a little stud pony go missing. Same area I walked 50 times, I know, and 2 years later, I'm walking the same area, and there's a tree pushed over the fence. So I go over there to check this tree out, and I'm going to cut it off and stuff, and there's the skull and backbone of the horse laying there, but no other bones.
Oh, man.
And this is a spot I've been to 50 times,
Oh.
And like I said, that horse was in the pasture one night, and the next night it was gone.
And all that was left
and it was nowhere to be found. No neighbors found it. And the thing was, it was solid white. So it would have been easy to spot.
Right. Oh, my God. Well, that would take something pretty big.
That's through the years. Had several animals, goats.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you how many chickens, things like that go missing just with no explanation,
Yeah.
If it's a varmint, you'll find feathers, such, but they would just be there one day and gone the next.
Oh, man. Well,
Gardens would get raided, at night, and
sure.
So now I'm down to about no animals and no garden.
Well, be careful, brother. Be careful, because, if they run out of the other food, you never. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want you on the menu.
Well, that's what kind of worried me. The first encounter with a Sasquatch I seen.
Yeah.
I was in the pasture actually picking up sticks and piling them up to burn. And I got the weirdest feeling come over me, and I looked up and I was looking around everywhere and I couldn't see anything. And I'd had my back to this one area for probably 30 minutes. And I turned around and looked, and it was in the end of February. Not many leaves on anything. It was one little tree about 7 feet tall with just a few leaves on it.
Oh.
And as I turned around, this thing was standing behind this little tree.
Okay.
And I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me, I started walking, around in a circle heading towards my gate, but keeping my eyes on this thing, kind of backpedaling. And I got over there, and I was still trying to figure out what I was looking at.
Uh-huh.
And as a breeze blew, I seen the hair blowing. And he dipped his head just slightly down to the left, kind of like, don't look at me, I see you, but don't look at my face.
Oh, okay.
And he dipped his head down to the left. That's when I knew, that outline came a little more clear, and I pulled the phone up and got a picture of that joker. And he was 9 feet.
Oh, geez.
And I come out of the pasture. This was 70 yards from my back door. I walked backwards into the yard. I came around to knock on the door to get my wife to come out. And as I walked back around, that might have took me 30 seconds to get to the door from the corner of the house and back. And that thing had went 80 yards and was going off in the bushes. And I got a picture of it going off in the bushes. That's the first time I had seen one.
Uh-huh.
And, that wasn't even on my radar.
Wow.
So it took me a while to figure out what I had seen and such, but since then I had seen several, and I can tell you they don't all look the same. They're different.
Sure. Right.
Different variations in color, face, different expressions, they look different. Skin's different.
Okay.
Skin color's different.
Wow.
In my experience.
Sure.
I'm not speaking for anybody else but me. Just in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't believe anybody can say, hey, they all look like this, because from what I've seen, they don't.
Sure. Well, I mean, people don't look alike, so to quite a varying degree, we have a lot of physical differences, so I can't imagine they're much different,
Oh, no. The little ones I've had little ones come up within 8 feet from me.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always a big one, not very far off. They're always watched.
Yes, I'll bet they are. I bet you they're not just wandering around unsupervised. Yeah.
The only time I've ever seen them unsupervised is if the bigger ones are off somewhere, but there is going to be at least one big one left close to them.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're left, from what I've seen, they'll leave them in a nest.
Oh, sure.
And they don't stray outside that nest when the bigger ones are gone.
Yeah. I've heard that before too. I've heard of people stumbling on little ones. It's very, very, very rare. But one story I heard, and I can't even remember where, but it was he was a younger kid at the time, and his dad was hunting, and he was kind of left on his own devices in the woods, and he stumbled on a little Sasquatch that was left on his own devices, but he seemed to be stuck to a place. He didn't dare leave it. And, apparently, eventually the adults came back, the adult Squatches came back, and he was really super intimidated by the daddy one because he growled and made that little boy feel really uncomfortable. So he flew, back to where his dad should be. And he was terrified, but that's interesting you say that, because that's the second time I've heard that.
I would never have known that they were even in it if I hadn't noticed the tree the way it was. It was pushed down, pretty big tree. And to where the limbs should have been, the tree top should have been on the ground, it was all gone. And I'm sitting here, looking at this thing, thinking, where did the treetop go?
Yeah.
So I started walking this tree that was down. I got on it and started walking towards the root ball. And behind the root ball is where I found all of the limbs of the top of the tree.
Oh.
And that's where it was.
Sure. That's pretty cool.
So, I would have never seen the top of that tree piled up there behind the root ball if I hadn't walked up to it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's incredible.
And, of course, I instantly started backpedaling away and looking through the woods, and you could see, another one up there, the larger one.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine that's not the place you want to get caught by the larger ones, is right next to the little one. Nope. But listen, brother, I appreciate your call. It's been incredibly interesting. I hope you'll call in again because it's, I really love talking to you. I love hearing your stories, but we're about out of time for tonight, unfortunately. But please call in whenever you want. I'll be back tomorrow night. I'd love to hear from you then to continue if you want.
All right, brother.
That sounds good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime. Actually, we should probably talk about doing a podcast. So if you want to email me, and we could probably put one together and go through your experiences because you've definitely got enough for a podcast.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Brent.
Anytime.
And have a blessed night.
You too. Thank you so much, and take care, and happy birthday.
Oh, thank you very much, sir.
All right. Good night now.
Good night, bro.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as much as I love doing the shows, and I do love doing them, and it's hard for me to leave every night too, but I got 4 feet of impatientness waiting for, or 4 years old, 4 years of impatientness waiting for me on the other side of that door. So I do have to go, but I love you all very much. Thank you for spending time with me here tonight. Thanks for callers and Crow, I appreciate you calling in. That was awesome. I'd love to talk with you a lot more. And love you guys all. So I hope you have a great night. Remember, I'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you want to join me then, I'll be here. So if you want to be here, I'll be waiting. But I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. And I hope you all have some incredibly sweet dreams.
Woo!